College in Reading, Pennsylvania. USA Network presents the USAIGC National Team Championships. Tonight, the quarterfinals are brought to you by Mobile Detergent Gasoline. Mobile Detergent Gasoline for your everyday driving needs. By Toyota, who reminds you to buckle up for safety. And by Levi's, jeans, cords, and shirts for quality and style you can count on. Good evening, everybody. Welcome once again to some fabulous gymnastics on USA. Tonight, the Team USAIGC National Championships for 1983, and that means we're going to see some young and very talented performers. I'm Al Troutwig along with John Trietta. John, what exactly is the USAIGC?
The USAIGC represents all the independent gymnastic clubs in the United States. And Alan, the top gymnasts in the United States, the female gymnasts, come from the independent clubs, not from the high schools and not from the colleges. The top Olympians, you'll see them here today.
This championship has been dominated by a team called the National Academy. They have won this event 6 years running now, and of course that leads everyone to the question, can they do it for a 7th straight year?
Well, I would say it doesn't look too good for them. A number of their really talented younger gymnasts. Remember, this is a team competition, and you have to have good performers on every event, and there are 6 members on every team. 3 of their top team performers are injured, and it doesn't look very good this time, but I know they're going to give it a try.
Of course, that big event in Los Angeles just a little bit more than a year away. We're looking forward to who will represent the United States, and some bona fide candidates are here tonight.
Oh, absolutely. We have the #1 recognizable name in gymnastics here, and that's Tracy Talavera, and she's competing for the National Academy. For the Burks, a girl who did extremely well in the recent championships in the United States, Michelle Goodwin. And Gina Salone, an outstanding performer and a national team member, and a world championship team member from the Parkettes. So it's going to be great.
We begin tonight with the first of 3 shows on USA with the quarterfinals where 12 teams put their hopes on the line. And we'll return to Pennsylvania Dutch country in Reading, Pennsylvania, coast to coast on USA. Right after this, we'll return. Begin our coverage on USA of the USAIGC National Team Championships with the event that comes and goes in the blink of an eye, the vaults. And what more appropriate place to begin than with the defending champion, the National Academy. This is Julianne Brumbaugh, and she will be performing the first of 2 opportunities here on the vault.
A lot of acrobatic movements and skills required in vaulting, and that was a very pretty Sukahara with a full twist.
There's the coach of this team, Dick Mulvihill. He's not very optimistic about the National Academy's chances as 14-year-old Julianne Brumbaugh gets a replay on her first opportunity here.
It's a half turn on, a back somersault with a full twist. The Sukahara full twist is a highly rated vault, and it was very well performed.
John, why isn't Dick as optimistic as I expect a coach to be?
Well, he has 3 of his real good junior gymnasts and 1 senior gymnast injured. And this is a team competition, and all 6 gymnasts are very important to the team score. Sukahara full twist again, and Julianne has performed 2 very exceptional Sukahara full twists.
9.45 on the first attempt. This one looks like it could just be a wee bit better. Here's another look.
Very hard to control your landing. Here's the half turn, back somersault with a full twist, and well controlled, just 1 slight hop backwards. She's happy about that one.
And her score, 9.50. That will be something for the other gymnasts to shoot for. But before the other teams get a shot at that score, Yolanda Mavri of the National Academy will have her chance.
You see she's trying to get herself psyched, concentrating.
I see this vaulting as something with 3 elements. The push off the springboard, The push off the horse and then the landing. Is it that simple?
Yes, including a powerful run. And she didn't get a good push off the horse, Alan. She got on the horse what we consider getting on very late and got off late, and it prevented her from getting amplitude off the horse, allowing her to rotate to her feet. Got on the horse late, didn't get a good push off, and they're on her hands and knees, a 5/10 deduction. Now, it was a hard vault also, a Sukahara with the full twist.
So a crash for Yolanda Mavety, who has had great success with floor exercise, having registered as high as a 9.9. And we'll be getting set to watch her second attempt on the runway here in Reading, Pennsylvania. 8.55. So that's one she'll want to forget.
This is like an event that you could equate to a sprinter in track and field, running and then pushing themselves over a piece of equipment and then performing an acrobatic movement. So you must have the skills of an acrobat but the speed of a sprinter. Another Sukahara full twist. A little better than the first one, Alan, but she's getting on the horse too late and not getting a good push off the horse. She's running fast enough, I believe. Half turn on the horse. Back somersault, full twist, spotting the mat. On her hands and feet, 5/10 deduction for that.
Certainly not the crispest of starts for the National Academy. 9.00 for Yolanda Mavety. 5/10 off the pace set by Julianne Brumbaugh. And here's a young lady who has pressure not on her shoulders from the National Academy, but also from the United States. A 1980 Olympian, here's Tracy Talavera.
Back handspring, Sukahara full twist on her hands and knees. It's really amazing how this vault, it's an extremely difficult vault. A Sukahara with a full twist is hard enough as it is. Dick is trying to tell Tracy, you have to square off on your back handspring a little bit better, I think, get a better push. Now, she's doing a back handspring on to the horse, and then the push, and now a back somersault with a full twist. Incredibly difficult. She's the only American attempting this vault in competition today.
You know, watching Dick Mulvihill, as I expected that he's dealing with all these young girls. 9.05 for Tracy Talavera. I expected him to handle them with much more TLC, tender loving care, but he's all business, and he pushes them to about the limit, I believe.
Well, they want a good coaching experience, and I think Dick feels very strong and is very sensitive to the girls, but at the same time he knows that they're out there to perform, and he's trying to help them where it counts. Another Sukahara full twist, a little better vault. Her hands didn't touch the floor, but Alan, you can see she took a big step off to the side. The vault wasn't performed in alignment. Wasn't straight on. But you can see how difficult it is.
Well, when you've accomplished as much as Tracy Talavera has, these two vaults have to bring disappointment.
Back handspring, Sukahara full twist off. Didn't touch that floor, but stepped off the mat. Major deduction for that.
Tracy Talavera's score, a 9.35. And that will be the score that she keeps for the National Academy. We'll move on now to the host team, the Berks. We are in Berks County, and the Berks is the name of the team that is hosting the 1983 National Team Championships. Here's Amy Appler.
Powerful run, handspring front somersault, nice landing. And here's a youngster who really runs like a sprinter and has tremendous upper body strength, allowing you to get a very vigorous push off the horse. A handspring push, tough position for a front somersault, a landing which had 2 steps backwards. Every step, Alan, is a 10th deduction.
Amy is 14 years old, a popular age among the young ladies competing here. 9.35, a very popular score among these young ladies here. Second attempt upcoming for Amy Appler, a 2-time member of the USA national team, 1982 and 1983.
Probably be the same vault. A handspring, which is a run, punch off the board, handspring onto the horse, going into a handstand, and she's going to push off and complete a front somersault afterwards. Handspring, front somersault. Handspring, front somersault. Didn't get around and landed right on her backside. When you land in that position, that is a 5/10 deduction, so it's not going to be a good score, not at all. Handspring, front somersault, kicks out a little too early.
And all the gymnasts are able to register a smile depending on how good or bad they do. That's how long the smile lasts. For Amy Appler, the score of her second vault, 8.80. So she will maintain the first tally, 9.35. And that will put her up in the running, but not near the top yet of 9.50. An interesting story surrounds our next competitor, Cheryl Weatherstone, who competes for the Berks but comes from a lot further away than Reading, Pennsylvania.
I'd certainly say that. Cheryl is the national champion of Great Britain. And a Sukahara full twist. Wow. It's a very difficult vault, and one must have total confidence. You can't hesitate while you're upside down or in midair. Cheryl's hands, she does a half turn onto the horse. As soon as she pushes off, she throws her arm. Watch how she throws her arm to get that full twisting back somersault in. Pretty wild stuff.
And in comparison to some of the other competitors, Cheryl must be ready to retire at age 18. 9.35 is her score. She has competed for Great Britain in Russia, Spain, England, Germany, Canada.
Hopefully, 1984 Olympics.
Second attempt, Cheryl Weatherstone.
What amazes me about Cheryl is how quick she is. She is really like a cat on her feet. And watch, after her hands push off that horse, how quick her arm is thrown across the chest to get a full twisting back somersault in. And here it is. But you can see when you're throwing your arm that quick, sometimes you're not quite in balance, and her hand touched the side of the mat, and that's not going to be a very good score.
Replay of the second ball.
Right.
We spoke before, John, about the injuries that the National Academy has, and certainly any time that you're practicing 2, 3 hours, 4 hours every day, you're going to get little nagging injuries that become bigger injuries. 9.35 is the score that Cheryl Weatherstone will keep. You can see that even she has her right ankle taped, as most of these competitors have something small or large taped or covered or protected in some way.
Well, Michelle Goodwin, you mentioning ankles, hurt her ankle about 4 months ago, and normally performs a much more difficult vault, a somersaulting vault. But here she is going to perform a vault that is not as physically abusive to the body. Handspring with a full twist on, and as she comes off the horse, she performs a full twist off. Doesn't put a lot of pressure on her ankles. So she's using this vault until her ankle heals up again. Here it is, a full twist on, push, full twist off. Difficult vault to maintain your form. You can see her feet would just split apart slightly.
Michelle, 9.45, very close to the top for this home Berks team. She has been to Asia, the Far East, Europe, representing the United States.
She's in the top 6 in the United States right now. Is one of the top gymnasts, and wait until we get on the bar. She has a move that she performs named after her called the Goodwin. We'll take a look at that later. Handspring full on, full off. Nice form. Tough to keep your feet together on that. But it's easy on the ankles. Full on, full off, handspring. Real pretty.
And for Michelle Goodwin of the Berks team, a 3-year member of the U.S. national team, 9.45 is the score that she will keep. Only 5/100ths away from the leading score in the vaulting competition so far. And so the first competitors that we will see on USA are complete, but more to come as we will continue in just a moment. And one of the strong favorites in this competition is the Parkettes. This is Tracy Hinkle, first attempt.
Powerful run, handspring, half turn, back somersault, and really sticks that for a neat landing, Alan.
So far, John, 9.5 is the top score. Is that a very difficult score to top?
It's a very good score, but I think it can be topped. And here's the handspring, half turn, back somersault. Very pretty. But in order to top it, Alan, the vaulter must have extremely good form, must get as far away from the horse as possible with as much distance up in the air.
Tracy Hinkle, 14 years old, for attempt number 2 on the vault.
Strong run. Okay, now she just didn't get around, dropped to her knees. That's a 5/10 deduction, and obviously this score is going to be way lower than the first score. And watch, right to the knees.
So Tracy Hinkle of the Parkettes receives an 8.80. She will keep the first score of the first vault, 9.25. And we will continue now with the Parkettes. This is Cindy Rosenberry. Still that score to beat, 9.50.
Cindy performs a Sukahara with a full twist, a difficult vault, and a little bit lost upside down, Alan, and I believe that she really landed short on that vault and hurt her ankle a little bit. You can see her limping back. Must have a lot of power generated to rotate after the full twist, and you can see her ankle really got jammed there.
I think it's easy to see how if you don't come fully over, you're going to hit your toes or your feet, and you're really going to hurt your ankles. So an 8.80 on that vault for Cindy Rosenberry, and a little injury in the process.
This is a tough sport. Kids have to learn how to take these small little injuries and bangs and still perform. And look at this. This kid still takes off like a rocket. Good effort. Got around, but put her hands on the floor. And again, jammed her ankles again.
Well, a gutsy performance by Cindy Rosenberry. It's got to be a difficult thing to come flying through the air knowing that your ankles are weakened.
Half turn on. Sukahara full twist off. And you can see not a very good landing. Should be okay, it's just really stinging right now.
So Cindy Rosenberry an 8.80 and an 8.75. She'll keep the 8.80 as we move on with the Parkettes. This is Tracy Calor.
Look how fast this kid runs. Oh, very pretty. Sukahara with a full twist. But Alan, this was an even more difficult vault. This was done in layout position. The body was straight. Full twist, body straight, good control on the landing.
13-year-old Tracy Calor, as John would say, nailed it. 9.60. We have a new leader. Now, John, we have 12 teams here. We're trying to knock off only 4. Does that mean the Parkettes, the National Academy, the Burks are not doing their full-blown routines yet, knowing full well that their trip to the semifinals is very assured?
I think that they're doing their full-blown routines. It's just that, you know, when the pressure's on a good athlete, they get psyched. And when they get psyched, they perform a little better. But this kid's performing really well. Look at it, this kid taking off. Another Sukahara with a full twist. That's really just a great vault.
Well, there's your leader. And here's another look.
And you don't get a more difficult vault than this. This is a real highly skilled vault with a lot of difficulty. Sukahara with a full twist.
Tracy Calor bests her first score with a 9.70. And that is certainly a great deal more difficult to top than a 9.50. So the Parkettes have established themselves atop the vaulting competition. Now we move on to the Atlanta Gymnats. A surprise into the Final Four last year. And here we begin with them once again in the quarterfinals, a new year.
Sukahara in pike position.
And Christy Phillips in her first attempt.
Here's the half turn on and pike position. She bends at the hips, keeps the knees straight, but every step backwards is a 10th deduction. At least 5/10 of a point off on that round.
8.65. That won't do it. Was it a fluke for this team last year, or did they have bona fide
Well, they
gymnasts?
had a very well-rounded team, and they had some outstanding athletes that have left their team since then. And they have a very young team in there this year. Cute little kid, huh?
Very cute.
Good concentration. She'll probably perform the same vault, Sukahara in pike position, knees straight. Let's see if she improves on her landing. No, that was in layout. And that makes it a more difficult vault. You can see she didn't rotate around as much, and performing a Sukahara in layout, your body doesn't rotate quite as quickly, and you can see she didn't get around.
That was your basic crash again for Christy Phillips. But still the smile. And Christy will go back to practicing a little bit more. 8.30. First vault was an 8.65, and that's the score that she will keep. And we continue with the Atlanta Gymnasts now with 16-year-old Beth Anderson, who last year moved away from her home in Durham, North Carolina to train with the Atlanta Gymnasts. Let's see what that short period of training has done. First attempt.
Straight ahead run, handspring front somersault, excellent landing. Alan, she's going to score well on that, but she didn't extend out of the front somersault because she didn't have a lot of amplitude off the horse. Look, she ended it basically in a squat position, but it was a neat landing.
And the score for Beth Anderson, 8.95. Looked a little better than that to me, but according to John Troietta, the key elements were missing. Second attempt now for Beth Anderson. You can see the judges wearing the outfits of the Amish country, giving this event just enough local flavor. And there are some other events taking place elsewhere in the gym. That's the reaction of the crowd you hear.
Strong run, handspring front somersault. She's not budging on the landing. They're just wonderfully controlled. But I like to see her get a little more height off the horse. I think this is going to score better, much better than the first vault.
Better, but not much better. 9.05 for Beth Anderson, and that's the score that she will keep on her second vault. And a fine crowd here for the quarterfinals, the first of 3 days of competition for the gymnastic fans of the Pennsylvania Dutch country. Here's Diane Volpe of the Secunas.
Handspring front somersault, very similar to what Beth performed. She really landed in a very deep squat position. More amplitude off the horse would be required to score well in this vault, but she got a lot of distance away from the horse, which is a good indication.
9.05 for Diane Volpe. This Secunas team is named after Rich Secunas, and Diane has been training with Rich since she was 7 years old. Now that's for 5 years. She is now 12. And talk about little.
Probably the same vault, a handspring front somersault. Yes. And now that was a better vault. Alan, you can see that as she opened up from her tuck position in the front somersault, she extended out of it a lot crisper. Now here's the front somersault, extension out, and on her landing, she was standing up a lot better. She wasn't in a deep squat position.
And so the score for Diane Volpe, 9.30. Not the best, but certainly commendable compared to some of the other scores that we've seen. And here are the vault standings. Kalor, 9.70 from the Parkettes. Brumbaugh of the National Academy, 9.50. And Goodwin of the Berks in third spot. The team standings after one event, the Parkettes in first, but right behind them, the Berks, then the National Academy, and the Secunas in fourth position. The top 8 will move to the semifinals. Coming up next on USA, these young ladies climb the bars. We'll be back. are even computerized in Pennsylvania Dutch country as we continue on USA with the USAIGC National Team Championships. An organization that has come a long way due in part to some strong dedication. And of course that dedication begins at the top. Here's John Triet.
Ed Knepper is the executive director of the United States Association of Independent Gymnastic Clubs. Ed, this competition has happened 6 years in a row. This is the 7th year it's happening. How did it start and why did it start?
Well, first of all, anybody who's a member of the USGF, a constituent body, they have to have a national championships. So that was the major reason for starting it. The other was there were no team championships in the United States when we started this in 1976. So the executive director at that time and myself got together and determined that this would be the proper place to have a really true women's team championships. And thus we started 7 years ago.
Right. Well, it's been a great series, and I'm very curious about what is the United States Association of Independent Gymnastic Clubs? What is that association?
Actually, it is a service organization for all of these small business operations, which are the gymnastics clubs themselves. And basically, we're set up to do many things, but we want to better their business operations if we can. So that's one of our main thrusts. Secondly, we have to have some kind of a technical program for them. And basically, that one comes from our junior elite development children. And these are little kids, 6 to 12 years old that are just dynamite. Top 1% of all the gymnasts in the United States are involved in this program. So it's super. And then we have insurance programs for them, and we have what we call business seminars. And these seminars get involved in 4 areas. One is coaches certification, which is extremely important to us. Another is business management, where they can come in and actually get a certification in business management. Another is sports medicine, which you know how important that is to us. And the other is preschool education, because we have a tremendous number of preschoolers now involved in our clubs. In most clubs, it runs about 30 to 40% who are 6 years of age and under. So we have a complete certification in that now.
Well, I know as a fact that these independent schools, such as the Berks, National Academy, Parkettes, they have many programs that go on in each school, and that these are the competitive programs that we see today. And an amazing fact, every Olympian that maybe will most likely be on the Olympic team, and every national team member comes out of the independent clubs. And it's important for those clubs to stay around and stay in business. And I know that you have a special business seminar and conventions that you run, and I've been to one and they've been really great. What's the next year's plan?
Well, next year's plan is for 4 business seminars. We have 2 in August. The first one will be in Las Vegas. And the second one will be in Disney World. We're going down to see Epcot, too, at the same time.
Great.
And then in September, we have 2, one in Houston, Texas, and the other will be in Chicago, Illinois. We're following that up with 4 mini seminars, and we're shooting for Boston, and we're shooting for the East Coast, upper New Jersey primarily, and 2 other locations that we haven't decided upon yet.
Well, that's great. Let's keep it going strong, and congratulations. Great job.
Thank you very much.
So much of the recent excitement in gymnastics has come on the bars, and that is the second event as we continue our coverage of the quarterfinals of the National Team Championships of the USAIGC. And our first performer is a lady that we've already seen, Amy Appler of the Berks.
What's so impressive to me, Alan, is that these youngsters can literally pull themselves from one bar to the next bar and swing as they are doing that. And movements, the handstands, there's a stall to shoot. The transitions are so pretty today, dynamic, and they usually finish with an outstanding acrobatic movement off the bars. And there's one right there. It's a front somersault off the bars. A free hit, front semi off.
Well, John, you took my nose and pressed it up against the support cables, and it was not until then, really, that I appreciate the quick intensity and the guts that it takes to perform this routine. Here's Amy Appler again.
Here's a stall to shoot. And watch this release. Right to the handstand. To the low bar. You have to get sometimes really up close, Alan, and see that pretty amazing stuff what these little kids are doing.
Amy Appler's score, 9.25. And we have nothing to compare it to. She's the first competitor that we've seen in this segment of our competition. You can see even the young lady assistants that are walking around are also wearing the Pennsylvania Dutch costumes. Here's Kim Hillner of the Berks team. Kim is 17 years old. National team member 3 years running, 81, 82, and 83. She has had some great past success in the floor exercise, a finalist in the national competition in 1982.
Nice transition from one bar to the next. It's a kipping movement. Free hip to the handstand with a pirouette. Getting set for her dismount. Free hip. Stalled her with a front somersault and a half turn.
What's the judging criteria here, John?
I think execution, form, how high the difficulty of the movements they're performing, the transitions from one bar to the next, do they meet all the requirements? And here's Tom pulling the mat out in preparation for Kim's dismount, which is, watch, she comes down as she's doing the stolder, releases, does a half turn back somersault out for her dismount.
And for pretty Kim Hillner, a 9.30 for the Berks. And now Michelle Goodwin looks at her teammate and says, you've registered the score to beat.
Watch Michelle's mount. I referred to it before. It's called the Goodwin. It's named after her back handspring. She does an Arabian somersault over the low bar. That's not easy. Aggressive transitions from one bar to the next, right into the handstand, a full pirouette on one bar. There's a high-level difficulty routine. All she needs now is a well-controlled dismount. And she does it really well. She has a toe-on half turn with a back somersault off in tight position.
How much is creativity worth? Certainly was a lot of it there.
She's going to get a few tenths back just in this Goodwin mount, which she performs. It's an Arabian somersault over the low bar. Look how she bounces off that bar and then proceeds with the rest of her routine.
That has to be the ultimate compliment for a gymnast, John, to have a routine named after them and to have that name perpetuated among other gymnasts.
Well, that's one of the real neat things about the sport. If you invent something, they'll give you credit for it internationally.
It's like an astronomer finding a star deep in space. He gets his name on it. Michelle Goodwin, a 9.55. And by 25 hundredths, that is our best score. Once again, here's Beth Anderson of the Atlanta Gymnasts, last year in the Final Four of this competition. Right now we're in the quarterfinals. 12 teams beginning here in Reading, Pennsylvania. 4 will be eliminated as a result of this competition.
Front somersault. Back to the top bar. Look how quick she moves. Free hip handstand. Giant swing handstand. You normally find in men's gymnastics at one time, which the girls have really mastered these days. Toe on front somersault, all for her dismount.
You really have to admire the young gymnasts like Beth Anderson or Cheryl Weatherstone who leave home just to dedicate themselves to gymnastics, as Beth has done, moving away from North Carolina to train with the Atlanta team.
There must be some tough family decision to do that at times. There's a giant swing, another giant swing, toe on, front somersault off for her dismount. I like the routine an awful lot. She had a nice somersault in the middle of the routine.
What about the judges, John? 9.20.
I think that was kind of a little bit of a tough score. She had some form breaks here and there. Maybe they hit her hard on those.
And now this young lady, Tracy Kalor of the Parkettes, with the score to beat 9.55. You don't have to jog your memory too much to remember how she dazzled us in the vaulting. She was very sharp and explosive.
Look how quick she is here. Install the chutes. Almost like a hop over that low bar. Nice quick movements, good body line, keeping the toes together, good form, getting set for a dismount, double back somersault. Very neat routine. I like this routine an awful lot. It was double back somersault for a dismount. Very difficult dismount, and she had very good form throughout the entire routine. But watch how she started this whole exercise. Very good swing movements. Right to the handstand, and then a giant swing. A stall to shoot, showing good flexibility. Right into the handstand again.
Tracy Calore registers a 9.30. And now to one of my favorites, Tracy Butler of the Parkettes. 9.55, still the score to beat. And she has done some fine things with her career.
Absolutely, Alan. She's the junior champion of the United States. Those are all the kids who are under the age of 15. She did this recently at the championships of the United States. She's the top junior gymnast, 14 and under. And look why. Swings with exceptionally good form. She's very powerful. She moves gracefully from one bar to the next, and here are giant swings. And a full twisting back somersault off the bars.
And little Tracy, who hopes to be a nutritionist when she grows up, completes her routine. And here's another look.
Very good handstand position. Here's the giant swing, preparing herself for her dismount. Giant down, full twisting, back somersault off, but notice, always good form. Just a little step there at the end of the routine.
And the score for Tracy Butler, 9.25, and I hope we're not keeping the team members awake. This is Tracy Hinkle, also of the Parkettes, as we stay with this team from nearby Allentown, Pennsylvania. What would you say, about a 40-minute ride from here?
Yes. And Tracy's a different style gymnast. She's more powerful than most of the other gymnasts. She's very quick, very forceful in her movements. And there's a front somersault. Half turn at the bottom of the bar, front somersault in straddle position. Getting set for a dismount. Toe on, front somersault with a half turn.
I thought it was a nice looking dismount. What did you think?
It was very. This is an exceptional routine. She really nailed it. There were no real major form errors. Very good swing elements. And watch, she does a half turn at the bottom of the bar, and then there's a front somersault in straddle position. Very tough movement.
You watch it in slow motion, you begin to realize just how much you take for granted. Fine score for Tracy Hinkle, 9.60. That is the score to beat.
Great
and
routine.
This Parkettes team looks very, very strong. We will continue with the USAIGC National Team Championships. Back to Julianne Brumbaugh of the National Academy, the 6-time champions of this event. This is the quarterfinals. 12 teams beginning here. 4 will be eliminated as a result of tonight's competition.
Stole the shoot for a mount. Very quick movements with Julianne. Julianne is a very quick performer on the bars. There's a nice front somersault. Exceptional toe point. She has one great routine coming. Getting set for a dismount. Good stall to shoot. Straight arms. Giant swing. Toe on. Front somersault with a half turn. Excellent routine.
Our camera crew is right on top of it, and it seems as though Julianne was as well. Throughout
the routine, Alan, she really displayed exceptional form and good rhythm from one bar to the next.
Here's the replay on the routine of Julianne Brumbaugh.
Giant swing, right into the handstand, good form. Stall to shoot, demonstrating good flexibility, keeping her arms straight. And her dismount coming up, toe on, front with a half turn. Good controlled landing. All right.
Julianne, a member of the 1982 junior national team, gets a 9.60. And that will put her right at the top. So just when you begin to count the National Academy out of it, at least when you talk to Dick Mulvihill, their coach, you do. But then when you walk away, you say, wait a minute, this coach has done too much to be counted out so early. Yolanda Mavety of the National Academy, center stage on the bars.
Dick might not be encouraged as much or as bullish as he has been in the past, but no way is he giving up. Or his kids. There's a cross change to a front somersault. Extremely pretty movement. Giant swing. Toe on front with a half with an exceptional landing.
Well, the crowd enjoyed it.
Oh, it's a very good routine. Watch this movement on the bars. Right into the handstand. Toe on, toe off. And a half turn. Very intricate movements. And watch, she takes her hand and she crosses it over her other hand. And does a half turn at the bottom to a front somersault. Wow.
What would you give it, Coach?
Well, if I had to score this routine, that has to be well in the 9s.
Oh, that's fudgy.
Okay, I'd say at least 9.5. To me, it's a 9.5 routine.
All right, close. 9.35 for Yolanda Mavety of the National Academy.
And since you're bringing up scoring, I thought that was too low.
Okay. You can see the variation in the prior scores. There was a 9.4 and a 9.3. The average was a 9.35. Score to beat, 9.60. They take away the high, they take away the low, and average the middle two. Here's Tracy Talavera.
It's hard to outguess the judges. It's a very difficult job they perform. And it's tough to be out there. Tracy had a little error in the beginning of her routine. And her rhythm is way off. And you can just tell she just didn't have a rhythm. And as she was trying to do her stall to shoot, she just didn't get over the bar and fall. Fall is 0.5 of a point. Now she'll just get up there and do her dismount, which is a common each with a full twist. It's not a good routine for Tracy. So we saw Tracy on vault, not too good. Bar is not too good. Having a rough meet.
So far. Another look.
Well, this shows you why she fell. Now she's supposed to go to the top bar, and at this point she wants to go past the handstand position but doesn't get all the way over, and didn't get over to perform a stall of shoots and just came down to her feet.
So the second disappointment for Tracy Talavera, 8.85. Very disappointing for her and for the National Academy. Considering how depleted their squad is, they need a big score from Tracy. Here's Kim Lemon of the Arena team. Our first look at this team. Kim is 16 years old.
Handstand, free hip hand with a hop. Very pretty. Good job. Another free hip to a handstand. Front somersault in between the bars. Getting set for her dismount. Toe on, front somersault in tight position. One big step forward. No major breaks or errors. Some difficult combinations. Free hip to the handstand. And a high front somersault between the bars. Good routine.
And so for Kim Lemon of the Arena team, an 8.95. And along with that score, some much-needed encouragement for Kim Lemon. We've completed 2 events here in Reading, Pennsylvania on USA at the USAIGC National Team Championships. The standings in the bars competition, Julianne Brumbaugh tied with Tracy Hinkle of the Parkettes, 9.60. Goodwin of the Burks, 9.55. For Michelle, she leads in the all-around, 19.0, tied with Tracy Kalor, and Tracy Hinkle of the Parkettes not far behind. And the team standings after the two events that we've seen so far look like this. The Parkettes have maintained their lead, followed by the Burks, who are tied with the National Academy of Eugene, Oregon, and the Sekunas in fourth place with an even 88. And that's where we stand at the midway point of our quarterfinals here in Reading, Pennsylvania. But stay tuned. Coming up next, the beam competition on USA. Gymnastics fans are certainly more interesting than others. We're standing by for the beam competition. John Trietta has a special guest who tells us that there is one thing more important than other qualities to perform well on the beam, and that is big feet. The big feet of Christy Phillips visiting with John.
Christy Phillips is a charming little youngster who started gymnastics just a few years ago, and she's very much like the young kids that are doing the sport today. And Christy, how long have you been doing gymnastics?
5 years.
Is that what made you start the sport of gymnastics?
Well, first I was taking dancing, and my coach, she was at our school one day because she was a PE coach, and she asked me if I would like to take gymnastics at her gym. And so I started taking gymnastics from her.
You look like you're having an awful lot of fun out there. What's the best event? Which one do you have the most fun on?
Well, probably the beam.
The balance beam, that's usually the most difficult, isn't it?
It is for some people, but for some people it's the easiest.
Why do you think it's easy for you?
Well, I'm short and I have real big feet, and I can grip onto the beam, I guess.
I mean, it pays to have big feet in gymnastics.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. When you have a workout in your gym, right, there are many times you really look forward to it. Isn't that right? And sometimes you don't look forward to it. When you don't look forward to it, you know, what do you do to make it fun for yourself?
Well, I just go in and try to have the best workout I could ever have, and just try to make it fun and talk and just try to get the other kids to make me happy and stuff.
Great. So it's really important to be part of a team, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
How do you like this team competition here? Are you enjoying yourself?
Yeah, it's kind of scary because you want to do good for your team, but when you do bad, you really feel bad about it. But when you do good, you feel great about it. 'Cause you say, oh gosh, I helped the team.
That's great. And listen, you're a charming youngster, and good luck.
Thank you.
Well, they don't come much cuter than that. We'll be seeing the big feet of Christy Phillips in just a moment as we move on in the beam competition of the quarterfinals here in Reading, Pennsylvania.
And considering all the acrobatic movements they're doing, Alan, it pays to have a foot size a little bit larger. You hold on a little bit better.
My size 12s would make me a superstar then.
That I'd like to see.
And here is Christy Phillips.
Getting started off to a good handstand, and look at this flexibility. Now, she didn't tell me anything about her flexibility. That's real neat. Back handspring, high back layout, and hung on. Christy has to work the entire beam, must perform movements like full turns, acrobatic movements, tumbling movements, body waves, compositions where she has to be low to the beam like she is right now, Ellen, and demonstrate movements way off the beam. Jumps, leaps, turns. Back handspring, back handspring, back handspring. 3 in a row.
You see a policeman tell you to take a sobriety test and you whip into one of these routines along the line down the middle of the road. Guess you're okay.
And a full twisting back somersault off. Aside from that little wobble that she had on the beam, Christy did real good.
She also had that one little hip kick in the middle there for good measure. Here's another look at
Watch her mount.
Gymnastics,
yeah,
Christy Phillips.
Look at this mount, Alan. She presses into the handstand and then arches and arches and arches over until her feet touch the beam, and then she stands up. That's a new back exercise.
Yeah, it's not how I get out of bed in the morning, for sure. So Christy Phillips registers a 9.15 for herself and the Atlanta Gymnasts. And judging from her reaction, she's fairly satisfied with that. Here's Amy Appler of the Berks team. The Berks are the host team, along with the National Academy, the Parkettes, and the Sekunas, the top 4 so far through 2 events.
Front somersault onto the beam. A risky acrobatic movement. Another front somersault. Must keep your hips in alignment over the beam. Balance is so important. Concentration, controlling your flow of energy. Back handspring, back somersault, and off she goes. The penalty for a fall, 5/10 of a point. And that can mean an awful lot in tight competition among the teams.
The scores of this day will be erased, and the teams will begin with a fresh slate for both the semifinals and the finals.
There's no carryover, that's correct. I believe the Berks feel they pretty well are going to make it into the top 8, and there's no pressure on them at this point. Dismount coming up, double twisting back somersault with good control on the landing.
Nicely executed by Amy Appler, 14 years old, of the Berks team. No fun for this team, really, John. They didn't have to travel to get to this meet.
That's one. I'll tell you, that's part of the home court advantage when you have to travel across the country. And here is a back handspring, back layout, and she just is off to the side. Try to fight to stay on, but unable.
You think sometimes it's better just to give up and to go off than to try and recover and maybe really lose your concentration?
Never best to give up. You have to always think positively doing the sport. Because I've seen so many kids who have made a similar error, but who managed to stay on, instead of getting a 5/10 deduction, got a 3/10 deduction. And those 2/10 mean an awful lot.
Here's Michelle Goodwin. I had a chance to speak to her father prior to the competition. Very proud of his little girl.
Very fine young lady. Back handspring mount on the beam. At the recent championships of the USA, Michelle excelled.
She is another one of the gymnasts who has had fine success on floor exercise, the USA champion in 1981.
Just performed an extremely difficult combination, a side aerial to a back handspring. And there's a double turn. Michelle's a very mature performer. She really seems like she's always under control while performing on the beam. A front aerial. Look how solid that was. Not a wobble, not a falter. An arabesque. And her dismount. Round off, full twisting back somersault.
Very crisp dismount for Michelle Goodwin of the Berks. Here's a look at her mount.
She does a round off back handspring onto the beam. And you always want to make sure your hands are on the beam. Very neat.
And Tom McCarthy, the coach of the Berks team, discusses with Michelle Goodwin her great score, 9.75. That's the score to beat and the challenge for the remaining gymnasts in the beam competition. We'll be back. After two events is the Parkettes of Allentown, PA. Here's Cindy Rosenberry of that leading team with the score to beat 9.75. Michelle Goodwin of the Burks registering that score.
Cindy's one of the top junior gymnasts in the United States, the 14 and under category, and the championships of the United States did real well. And one of the events that she excels on is the balance beam. She's also exceptional on floor exercise. Good body alignment.
Cindy is also 14 years old. She participates in that very common teenage hobby, collecting pigs.
Another acrobatic movement coming up. Back handspring, back layout. Great control. No hesitation between the back handsprings, and it's a double twisting back somersault. This is going to be a score well in the upper nines.
Well, the 1982 USA Championship, Cindy Rosenberry finished second in the beam competition. Here she is looking to help out her Parkettes team with a good score, and looks like she's done it.
Here's a dismount coming up. Round off. Back handspring. Both feet punching the end of that beam. Up in the air. 2 times around. Double twisting. Back layout.
Well, she got tremendous height off that beam on the dismount, didn't she?
Hard punch with both feet. Do it every time.
Nicely done by Ms. Rosenberry. As we await her score, which is a 9.60, a great score, but not good enough, not to topple Michelle Goodwin's number of 9.75. And we move ahead now to Tracy Butler, also of the Parkettes team.
A real dynamite performer. She's very precise in all her movements. And just double pirouetting around the beam. A straddle down, back into the handstand. Good flexibility, balance. Full turn. Slight wobble there.
John, as the gymnasts get older, I'm sure some of them have to watch their weight and maintain their conditioning. Does someone like Tracy Butler have to do that?
I'd say that the performer before this, Cindy Rosenberry, in the last year must have grown. To me, it looks like she grew about 3 inches. And at a certain time, when they go through puberty, then they grow very rapidly at certain points. They have to watch their weight. Absolutely. I've seen a lot of girls who are small like Tracy Butler. When they hit 15, 16, 17 years of age, they start putting on the pounds and they just work their way out of the sport. But she has really a great body for the sport right now. Look at the strength that she has, and if she put on additional weight, she would be able to do a lot of the movements that she's doing right now. Dinah is one of the real focuses of the coach's attention. There's a double twisting back layout, and this was an exceptional performance also, and it's going to really add to the total team score of the Parkettes. Watch this pirouetting action, Alan. That's one time around, and she's walking her hands around the beam. Here she goes for another time around the beam. She just walks the hands around the beam, maintaining her balance and control, and then she straddles down.
Very precise and hugs all around for Tracy Butler of the Parkettes. A 9.65, 1/10 away from the score to beat. But that, along with the other relatively high scores that the Parkettes got, will keep them up or at the top. Now of the flips team, our first look at this squad.
Jump right into a split. What's so great about this tournament is, in this national championship, it really allows the youngsters to compete with their teammates and to compete against some of the top gymnasts in the United States. Front aerial. Here's you asked me a question before, does it pay to fight? Well, here's one case where it did pay to fight. Instead of having a 5/10 deduction if she fell off, she fought, and only a 3/10 deduction for her.
So it's a fight for points.
And the dismount, full twisting back layout, very pretty.
Caitlin Quimby of the flips team.
Arm swinging back handspring, back layout, spots the beam, excellent control.
And her score 9.15 for Caitlin Quimby. And we'll move on to Caitlin's teammate, Christy Stitzer. And still that score sits up there at 9.75. It belongs to Michelle Goodwin. And really the battle now is not in the top 4, but in spots 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 as to who will make the semifinals. We've got teams like the National Academy who have come all the way across the country to compete here in Reading, Pennsylvania. And none of them want to see their performance end after the quarterfinals.
Handspring, back layout, back layout. Wow! Now, I haven't seen a combination like that for a while. Extremely risky. 2 back somersaults in a row. Excellent routine for Christy right now. Split leap. Back handspring, full twisting back somersault. Very fine routine, and watch this. 2 back somersaults in a row. Back handspring, back somersault, back somersault. This is one time you really want to be square on the beam. Just a slight wobble, but what a difficult movement.
And the score for Christy Stitzer, 9.35. In the beam competition here in Reading, Pennsylvania, we move on to Yolanda Mavety of the National Academy, 9.75. You know, if Christy Stitzer ever has a move named after her, all the announcers for the future of that move will have a difficult time. That is a tongue twister.
I like the way Yolanda approaches every event. She's a very talented youngster who I think has a great chance in 1984. A jump full turn. Another full turn. Back handspring. Back handspring. No major wobbles or faults right now, and Yolanda Mavety is performing with an awful lot of confidence. layout. That was nice, huh?
Probably one of the only things that's missing from Yolanda is that just a little bit of flair that comes with a proven champion.
Well, I believe that Yolanda is still growing into her real potential. She is young yet, and I think you're right. She has to get out there and win a few events, and I think you see some big changes in her.
Nothing like winning a few events for your confidence.
Watch this. Back handspring with exceptional control.
And the score for National Academy's Yolanda Mavety, 9.45, as she has a discussion with Tracy Talavera, who I'm sure has been disappointed in her performances so far here. Now back to little Julianne Brumbaugh. And I wonder, John, whether Julianne has the ability to top that score of Michelle Goodwin. That's been sitting up there for a long time, 9.75.
That's going to be a tough one to beat. She has a lot of cute elements, a lot of handstand, headstand movements. So far, Julianne's having a great meet. 9.5 on vault, the 9.6 on bars. Working smoothly, aggressively. Side aerial, very solid. Handspring, back layout. Even though her feet were on the floor only for 1/10 of a second, that's still a 5/10 deduction. Round off, double back somersault, and she sat down on that, Alan. That's a second major break. When you sit down on a dismount like that, that's approximately a 5/10 deduction. So this has not been a good routine, even though she got off to a great start. And here's her mount, which I find so cute. Headstand. Pushes out into the handstand. Immediately into a back handspring. A great start, but got lost in the middle somewhere.
Well, Dick Mulvihill, the coach of the National Academy, said he didn't think his team had the depth to make up for those injuries. And the reason they don't have the depth is because some of these gymnasts that are filling in haven't felt the intensity of competition before. 8.60 for Julianne Brumbaugh. And now to Tracy Talavera.
Back handspring, back handspring, back handspring. Tracy's ranked as one of the top gymnasts in the world on this event. At the World Championships, took a 3rd place bronze medal, and you can see why. Split. Side aerial. Back layout. A little wobble here and there, but staying on. Round off back handspring. And, you know, it was a good routine up until that point. Her dismount was off to the side, and she didn't do her normal dismount.
Still not what we would expect for Tracy Talavera.
Yeah, it could be a huge deduction for that. Here's a side aerial. And a back layout. A little out of control.
And Tracy's score, 9.35. And while she is disappointed, that will keep her team in the thick of things in the quarterfinals. The standings in the beam here in Reading, Pennsylvania. Michelle Goodwin of the Berks, 9.75, followed closely by two Parkett members, Tracy Butler, 9.65, and Cindy Rosenberry, 9.60. The all-around after 3 events, Michelle Goodwin's 28.75 sets the pace, followed by Tracy Kalor of the Parkettes and Tracy Hinkle of the Parkettes as well. The team standings, 75% complete in the quarterfinals. The Parkettes of Allentown, the National Academy of Eugene, Oregon, the Berks of Reading, and the Arena team with 131.20 having slid into 4th place, replacing the Sekunas in that spot. Stay tuned on USA. Floor exercises coming up. At the final chapter in these quarterfinals of the USAIGC National Team Championships will be from the floor exercise, as these teams compete to whittle themselves down from 12 unto 8 to see who moves into the semifinals here in Reading, Pennsylvania. First competitor will be from the Parkettes. This is Jessica Armstrong, our first look at her in the quarterfinals.
Starts off in the very corner, tumbling pass, double back somersault, pike position. Good start.
Of course, this is set to music, and the music often makes a statement as to the personality of the performer.
And it also allows for a harmonious change between the gymnastic and tumbling movements and dance movements. This is totally choreographed, and the coaches and the athletes spend literally weeks upon weeks perfecting this routine, and then they spend the entire season, maybe 2 or 3 years, with the final tune-up on this on these routines. Pirouetting action, triple pirouette. Here's that change of pace. Last tumbling pass, round off back handspring, double twisting back somersault. I liked it.
And so the Parkettes begin in the floor exercise. This is really an event, John, with those little flare movements that we spoke about earlier come into play.
Oh, sure. And you need that with the great tumbling movements. And here's her dismount, a double twisting back somersault.
And we'll see how the Parkettes start things off. Jessica Armstrong with a 9.50. Looks like she's pretty happy about that.
Not a bad start.
And they're keeping score for us. Cindy Rosenberry now of the Parkettes.
Cindy has an extremely difficult routine on floor exercise. Normally, on one of her passes, Alan, she will perform a triple twisting back somersault.
The 1982 USA Championships. The floor exercise, Cindy finished 4th. So this is an event that she feels comfortable with.
Round of back handspring, double back somersault, pike position, and a great landing and a great start to her routine. Here's a triple twisting back somersault coming up, and she puts it in 3 times around. That's correct. Just landed a little bit to the side, maybe a 10th deduction. It's going to be an exceptional routine right now. I mentioned, Cindy grew a lot last year. And she kept her weight down, and physically she looks real good. Round of back handspring, double twisting back somersault.
That's when you start growing like that, you have to reaffirm your dedication to the sport, because that's when it has to become that much tougher. And Cindy Rosenberry of the Parkettes. It's funny you mentioned about that change of pace to catch your breath. That's something that you'd never even notice or even pick up in a routine, but probably very important to the performer.
Round of back handspring, her mount, a double back somersault, keeping her knees straight, pike position, great landing, demonstrating control. Well, it's not really cheating, Alan, but it's important to do.
9.65 for Cindy Rosenberry and the Parkettes. Two very good scores for this Parkettes team to start things off. And now to Beth Anderson of the Atlanta Gymnasts. 9.65, the standard so far.
Russian front, double back somersault, in pike position. You can see her style is much more forceful, aggressive. Second tumbling pass, Russian front somersault to an Arabian. Notice the second routine in a row where the change of pace occurred just before the third tumbling pass. It gives the gymnasts a great chance to rest and also puts them on the line to show their dance ability. Round of back handspring, double back somersault, very tough dismount.
A colorful routine by Beth Anderson of the Gymnasts of Atlanta. And we'll go back and look at a portion of this.
A Russian front somersault, this is her mount. Back handspring, double back somersault in pike position, rotating around very quickly. Spots the floor and controls the landing.
And the gymnasts register a 9.50. That for Beth Anderson. Most of the faces in the crowd, we'll see them over the course of the 3 days of competition. They love their gymnastics.
Kim is a more poetic dancer. Good tumbling move, double back somersault, but she performed that in tuck position, bending her knees and her hips. Full twisting back somersault to a full twisting back somersault. Pretty dancer, huh?
Very nice.
Twisting back somersault for her dismount. Very pretty routine, and let's watch one of her tumbling movements, her mount, in which she started with a round off back handspring, double back somersault in tuck position, tight little ball and a solid landing.
And so number 144, Kim Hillner, gets a 9.50. On the floor exercise, seems to have mesmerized this young lady. And back to Michelle Goodwin, who was leading in the all-around after 3 events.
Michelle has matured tremendously in her dance movements. And here's a 2.5 twisting back somersault, and she steps out of it gracefully. Twisting step out. Notice the extension on her dance movements. Control, balance, handstand pirouettes. It was a little short on the double twisting back somersault for a dismount, ending with a strong dance sequence. She's going to go well up in the 9s. And it's nice seeing the gymnast mature in this fashion.
Well, you've watched so many of these gymnasts start as younger teenagers and grow older. Here's Michelle Goodwin on the replay.
Round off back handspring. 2.5 twists and just steps right out.
And for Michelle Goodwin, a 9.65. John, you were right. It was a great score for the home team, the Burks. And we've been talking about those little nagging injuries. They're being taken care of. We'll be back on USA in a moment. Al Troutwig along with John Trietta on USA. This is Kim Kraft performing her craft for the Seconas in the floor exercise in the quarterfinals of the USAIGC National Team Championships. And a spirited beginning for Kim.
It's a talented youngster. Double back somersault way up there. In fact, she over-rotated her around slightly. Talk about somebody who's spirited and who likes to move, right?
She loves to move. Is famous for much more than the Amish and the pretzels, and of course the hex signs. You can see they put one up on the wall there to keep the evil spirits away. It didn't keep you and I out of here, so I'm not sure that it's working.
I always like watching the real small kids in this meet performing. They go in with such youthful enthusiasm and an awful lot of talent. And here's her mount, a double back somersault in tuck position, just slightly out of control, but a ball of dynamite.
For Kim Kraft, a 9.40. And the crowd is beginning to wonder who might move into the semifinals. So are we.
twisting back somersault. That's not normally a high-level difficulty skill.
Now, this arena team was in 4th spot after 3 events, so they've been looking good.
Here's an Arabian. Round off back handspring, full twisting back somersault. I like the music.
I like her interpretation.
A dismount, a full twisting back somersault.
That should keep Arena in the ballpark.
This routine wasn't a high difficulty routine regarding the tumbling, but as you mentioned, Alan, the interpretation of the music was very nice. And here is a full twisting back somersault, which was her dismount.
And for Cindy Gasek, a 9.25 for the Arena team in floor exercise. As we're winding down in the competition for the quarterfinals. Nervous moments for at least 4 teams. Here's Cindy Cole of the National Academy.
Double back somersault.
Cindy is in the mood.
One and a half twisting back somersault to a full twisting back somersault. And Cindy's really utilizing the floor exercise mat.
John, don't you think if you picked a song that happened to be the ultimate all-time favorite song of one of the judges, it would help you in a very subtle way?
Oh, you know, the World Championships in 79, the Hungarians came out with this very modernistic music. The judges didn't like it. I thought the routines were great, but the judges didn't like the music. And they did not get the scores.
And so it can go against you as well.
Absolutely. Double twisting back somersault. And what's very important is the interpretation of that music by the gymnast.
Well, a big band performance.
Here's a 1.5 twisting back somersault to a full twisting back somersault, which was her second pass. And my only comment is that it might have been a little lower than it should have been.
Cindy Cole gets a 9.40 for the National Academy. And the judges are continuously communicating and talking things over. And as dedicated as the coaches and parents. Here's Yolanda Mavety.
A full twisting double back somersault. That's pretty difficult. Once you're up there, Alan, you just got to go for it.
Out of the plane and decide you want to get back in.
That's right. Triple twisting back somersault. So this is very difficult tumbling sequences that Yolanda is performing. Round-off back handspring, double back somersault. You know, she had a number of errors in this routine. But here's a youngster who is trying to go for the ultimate. She's starting off with a double back somersault with a full twist. The second pass is a triple twisting back somersault, and her last pass is a double back somersault. It can't get much more difficult than that. And if she could master it, she'll get really a fantastic score, well up in the nines. And here is a double back somersault with a full twist, a little short, hands touching the floor. But I'm sure by next year, a little more maturity, this is going to be well under control.
8.65 for Yolanda Mavety and the National Academy. And she didn't look too thrilled about that. And here she is once again, Tracy Talavera, with 3 disappointing performances so far. She could erase all those bad memories with a good floor exercise performance here.
And she starts off with a front somersault to a double back somersault. Double back somersault again. The rest of the routine should be a piece of cake for Tracy. Those are the 2 hardest tumbling sequences. How's this for a change of pace?
This I like.
And her dismount. Double twisting back somersault. And it's good to see that Tracy's ending on a positive note.
Tracy Talavera of the National Academy. And that's the way you forget about the other 3 routines. All the gymnasts on this National Academy team look up to her so much.
Here is her mount. A Russian front, a round off back handspring, double back somersault in pike position. And Tracy got off to a good start.
And so the score for this experienced veteran of gymnastics, 9.65 for Tracy Talavera. That's the way to do it for the National Academy. And that wraps up the floor exercise competition here in Reading, Pennsylvania. A look at the final standings reveals a 3-way tie at the top between Michelle Goodwin of the Burks, Cindy Rosenberry of the Parkettes, and Tracy Talavera of the defending champions, the National Academy. In the all-around finals, Michelle Goodwin wins it 38.40 for the Burks, followed by 2 members of the Parkettes, Tracy Hinkle and Tracy Kalor, only 0.05 of a point between them. And the team standings, the Parkettes of Allentown move to the semifinals along with the National Academy of Eugene, the Burks, the Arena team, the Marva teams, the Atlanta Gymnats, the Seicunas, and the Flips. We'll be back on USA. Stay tuned. We've taken 12 of the